So, I'm going to move on to the book that we featured in February 2017, and that's Zer0es by Chuck Wendig. Now, Chuck Wendig is an author that I've followed for some time. He actually has a blog at terribleminds.com, and he's also been known to write Star Wars books, and he writes comics as well. So yeah, he's a well-known author, very prolific. The reason I actually enjoy his work is because he has really quirky and vivid descriptions in his writing. Like even on his blog, sometimes he goes off on tangents and rants, and they're very explicit, but they're very creative. His descriptions on certain things. So since then, I bought some of his books on writing and stuff because I'm sort of an aspiring author myself. I would like to write a bestseller one day. I've experimented with story writing and stuff in the past, so hopefully that's something I can work on. But yeah, I've read his books on writing, and he does go off on tangents a lot, explaining things in a vivid way, and I like that. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing at all. But when it comes to fiction, readers want something very specific, so you can't always go off on that tangent. With Zeros, he really doesn't do that. He does have moments where he describes, something, very intricately, and sometimes, very vividly, but it's done all within reason, and it works with the flow of the story. I think Chuck is very self-aware in how he writes, and he knows when he can add those descriptions in, and he doesn't overuse it, he doesn't abuse it at all. So yeah, he's very self-aware in his writing. Definitely appreciated this book. So Zeros is about a group of hackers who are they're basically taken into custody. They've all kind of done illegal things with their hacking. So by law they should be imprisoned, but the NSA is setting up a new government program where they want hackers to infiltrate things and sort of test things. Um, so they kind of round up these five hackers, and they basically induct them into a program, and they're confined to what's known as the lodge, where there's other hackers there as well on site, and there's a government agent named Hollis Copper who's overseeing everything. Now, what's good about Zeros is because from the description, when you read the book blurb, it's easy to imagine that the book features some some bland hackers that are indistinguishable from each other. But that's not the case in Zeros. The cast is very diverse, particularly the five hackers that we read about, the five protagonists. They're very diverse, they're very unique of each other, and they have their own strengths and weaknesses, and they all play a part in the story and the outcome, which is great. It's definitely great storytelling. As for the characters themselves, you have Wade Earthman, who's the older hacker of the group. His methods of hacking are very vintage and old school and everything, which represents his age. He's also a war vet, which is interesting. So that means he's got a lot of tactical experience with weaponry and everything like that. And then you have Reagan Stolper, and she's like the troll of the group, and her knowledge of hacking is, well, she utilizes hacking merely to troll people and humiliate people in real life, like people that she knows. So like she's the type to hack your Facebook account and post some compromising photos of you and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically what she does. and you have Alina Katan, and she's actually an activist who, sticks up for the rights of, Arabic countries. Yeah, I mean, she's a very well-rounded character. Um, Definitely, probably the most strong-headed character of them all. I would say one of the most interesting as well. A very strong character, I think. Probably one of my favorites for sure. And we have DeAndre Mitchell as well, who's an African American, and his experience with hacking is that he basically hacks, bank details and financial details, and he utilizes them, for his own gain to get rich. He sells, credit card numbers and stuff like that to the highest bidder, and he's that type of hacker. And you have Chance Dalton. Now, Chance is definitely the anomaly of the group in the sense that, he's actually not a very good hacker. He's not very knowledgeable on the methods of hacking, but he's good at hacking people. So, socially, he can get what he needs in that specific moment from people. He's very good with people themselves. But throughout the actual story, he's often mocked and pitied a lot because he doesn't actually have a lot of skill in terms of hacking. Now, there's a great cast of, characters there for the main hackers, and Hollis Copper, who I mentioned earlier, he also comes into play later on. He's also, very much one of the protagonists of the story as well. So yeah, great cast of characters in this book, and they're definitely well fleshed out. They all have a lot of growth. Chance probably has the most growth out of all of them, and I would say he's like the primary character of the story that kind of takes up a lot of the focus. But you still get, a sense of the other characters as well equally. You get the spotlight is on each of them pretty much. Like you'll see them all kind of shine at various moments, which is good. Um, and as for, the plot itself, it's a very fast-paced book. The chapters are very short. There's actually chapters where there's like four sentences or, just a short paragraph or something like that. So it keeps you reading, and it's very fast moving. Like you can fly through the book maybe in like a week or so. I think it took me just, over, around a week and a half to finish. So not very long at all. It's around 480 pages, which for some is considered long, but it's so fast moving that it will reel you in, and you'll keep flying through the pages. Like you don't even notice that it's that long, to be honest with you. And it's a well tailored story. It has everything you could want from a story. The first half of the story is kind of a bit more slow paced as you're getting to know the characters. They're rounded up. They're confined to this lodge, and they call it the pod and everything. So all characters are sleeping in the same pod, and then they're given tasks every day in this facility that they have to do, and a lot of them are based on trying their hardest to get through a company's security, um, in the cyberspace. So basically hacking a company to see how far you can get, how much of their details you can get, that sort of thing. Just so the government agency can kind of understand their skill set and everything. But eventually you begin to learn that there's a bit of a conspiracy going on, and the NSA has a rogue AI program that is, kind of on the loose, and our hackers begin to unravel this, and that leads to, there's a very explosive chapter where things change, and then the characters are on the move after that, and the book very much turns into a kind of road story where they're traveling around, they're on the run, they're on the move, they're pursuing something, they're trying to pursue a way to take down this rogue AI. So yeah, the second half of the book is very fast paced, on the move. We're changing locations a lot, and seeing different. There's a lot of like head hopping, like you'll see different perspectives, different characters enter the fray. So it gets very frantic, in the second half of the book, but it's very enjoyable. Both parts are very enjoyable. Even the first half, it's a lot slower, but it's understandably slow because you're getting to know everyone, you're getting to know what's actually happening, what's developing. In terms of the technicalities of the hacking, because if you have a book about hackers, most likely there's going to be some technical jargon in there somewhere. But Chuck does a great job handling this because I've read a lot of other novels that include hacking. Um, Basically cyberspace. I've read a lot of cyberpunk type stories, and they go into great detail about hacking, and they're very methodical about the descriptions that they give you and everything like that. So that can put off a lot of people who don't really understand the technicalities, of hacking and computers and stuff. That can turn off a lot of people if it's too dense. But Chuck strikes the perfect balance here because he does. There are moments where he explains, the complexities of the hacking, but he does it in a way that doesn't kind of deter the excitement level. Like it's still exciting to read, it's still interesting, it's still intriguing. It doesn't kind of turn you off. If you have no knowledge and, if you're quite ignorant and don't care for, hacking and a lot of the techie stuff, you won't be put off by this book. Like it doesn't get too, dense to the point that you don't know what the hell is going on. So Chuck does a great job with that, I think. Um, Overall, I think Zeros is a great read for basically anyone. Like the reason I wanted to read it is because I want to read a lot more cyberpunk because I read Snow Crash last year by Neil Stevenson, and I really enjoyed that. And I wanted to get into more, kind of cyber books. I've read Ready Player One as well, which isn't really as techy, but it has a lot of VR video game references and stuff like that. So I wanted to read a lot more, techno thriller and cyberpunk stuff, and that's the reason why I picked up Zeros. And I was already a fan of Chuck Wendig, and I was quite satisfied. Ultimately, I think anybody can enjoy this book, even if you're not really into a lot of techno thrillers and cyberpunk style books. I think you'll still get a lot of enjoyment out of this. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one, and it gets a Redditor stamp of approval from me.